Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Kraft, for the introduction and the work that you're doing as president of the association, but your work over many years as a champion for public education. And really that is something that can be said for all of you in this room. Thank you. It is a difficult time, to say the least, in our country and in Louisiana to be an elected public servant. And when you think about it, the three things that most people are really, really passionate about: their children, their taxes, and their schools. You hit the trifecta. And as a result, you hear every time somebody's in your district and they're not happy. You don't hear from those who are happy. But what I know is you have the obligation to make a decision on every issue in front of you, and there is no way to do that and please everybody. And so what you do is hard. And for that, I'm just going to say thank you. Our children are better off because of your service. Our state is better off because of your service. And I am very mindful that every constituent of yours is a constituent of mine. And we can best serve our common constituents if we partner together, work together, and deliver the best possible education to our kids. And I know that's what you all are about. So I wanted to start by just thanking you for what you do. And I want to acknowledge your director, Scott Richard, who does a great job. I was on the Education Committee in the House of Representatives for 8 years before I became governor. And I got well acquainted with Scott and Janet and many others. But you all couldn't have a better person at the helm of this association. And so, Scott, for your work, I want to thank you. And I'll also tell you that you've got a great governmental relations team. Marky and Danny, who are up here, do a wonderful job interacting with my office, but also with legislators. But I want to let you in on a little secret. The most effective voices that you have when it comes to influencing state policy is yours. Because you're out there in those individual districts of members. And when you speak to your representative, when you speak to your senator, when you speak to your governor, that is very significant. You have a lot more influence than you might think. Because at the end of the day, I expect to hear from Scott. I expect to hear from Danny and from Marquis. But when you come see me, when you go see your state representative or your senator, that is unexpected. And therefore, it has more influence. And so I'm just going to encourage you today, whether you're a school board member or a superintendent, to make sure that you don't just rely upon your team, as good as they are. If something is important to you, speak out, grab them, and say, let me tell you what's really going on in my school and why that decision that you're about to make in Baton Rouge can either be really good for us or can be really bad for us. Don't trust that they're going to get the information any other way. And you will have more influence than you can imagine. And the last thing I'm going to say on that topic, try to establish a relationship with your representative, with your senator, before you ever ask him or her for anything. Just let them know who you are. And as a school board member, they should know you. But just let them know that you are going to, from time to time, want to be able to visit with them, call them, talk to them about things. And if it's possible, in that particular conversation, don't ask them for anything. Give them about 20 minutes. And go back and say, okay, now that we've got all that straight, let me tell you what's important to us. Speaking of important, we've got three important folks here today. We've got Senators Ryan Gaddy from Bossier, Ed Price from the Gonzales area, and Brett Lalonde from down in St. Mary Parish. Thank y'all very much for your work. You don't need me to tell you that it has been a challenging period of time over the last number of years. I actually cannot remember how many times over the last 10 years, for example, that we even worked with you to handle inflation. That 2.75% inflationary increase that we try as a goal to make to the MFP. Scott, has it been what, like 2.5 times or something like that? Two.
2.5.
2.5. I know it was a half because I worked like heck one time to get you a half of an increase. I think it's 2.5 times over the last 10 years.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. We should do better than that. We should do better than that. Because we say there is nothing more important to us than our children and their education. We say that education is synonymous with opportunity, and yet we don't put our money where our mouth is. We should do better. We will do better. I stand before you very optimistic about the future of our state. But I'm also mindful of the challenges that we face. And those challenges are significant, and they have been since noon on January the 11th, 2016. But who's counting the days, right? No, but we are doing so many good things in our state. We have so much momentum in terms of economic development wins, investment, job creation, low unemployment. But it has to translate into more stability and predictability in our budgeting. It has to translate to more fairness in our tax structure. We have an opportunity to do that in Baton Rouge right now. A once-in-a-generational change where we can reset and then do better by you as we go forward, because we can actually create a tax structure that grows with the economy. And then we can do better. That's my goal. That's what I'm working so hard for and have been for a very long time. You know, I had over 30 meetings traveling the state this fall with local elected officials. Many of you came. Thank you for doing that. But I also met with businessmen and businesswomen all over the state. And the one thing they had in common is they said, we know that you've got a problem. We want you to fix it. And we know that fixing it will invariably mean you're going to do things that we don't necessarily like. But it's time to do it, because this cycle that we have every 2 years having a crisis is not working for us. It's not working for you. So we can do better. So 20 minutes after I stop talking today, I want you to contact your state representative and your senator and tell them you expect them to fix this problem. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to require compromise, which by definition means I'm going to get some of what I want in exchange for accepting some things that I don't want. But there is no other way to solve the problem. I am prepared to accept some things that I find to be very objectionable, because it's less objectionable at the end of the day than continuing to do what we have been doing in Louisiana. So join with me and make sure that we get this problem fixed and that we do it now. Because if we don't, as sure as I'm standing here, there will not be a budget passed in the session that starts next month. And we will have 3 weeks at the end of June to try to fix the fiscal cliff, pass a budget, and pass capital outlay. And I can assure you, we will get some of that wrong in a 3-week period of time to try to get all of that done. But we can get the cliff behind us now and get that stability that we need. And I want you all just to understand for a moment what the cliff is. It's $994 million. That's the difference in the general fund forecast that REC has made for the current year and next year. We lose $994 million. Now let me give you the good news. We have $1.38 billion worth of revenue that falls off the table on June 30th, and I'm just trying to maintain a part of it. And the federal government has already done some of our work for us, because the tax changes they made in December mean that we're going to have $302 million more in revenue next year. So we are really trying to solve. The lift that we are trying to get in Baton Rouge right now, if I do my math correctly, $994 million less $302 million, that's $692 million. Yeah, it's a lot of money. But it's a hell of a lot less than the revenue that's fallen off the table. And we can do it, but we just have to come together and talk, and more importantly, listen. Now, the fact of the matter is the legislature did not spend much time leading up to session trying to work through a plan and develop a consensus. And so they're over there doing it right now. And I pray they are successful. I want you to join me in that prayer because it really is important. But I also want you to make that phone call. Because I am determined not to fail our children. And I need to be a better partner with you. The state of Louisiana needs to be a better partner with you so together we do right by our children. Because education really is synonymous with opportunity. And there is no way to achieve the number one mission we all have as human beings, and that's to leave our children and grandchildren in a better place than we had. If we don't work with the kids, or for the kids, who are in our education system. And you cannot do that in the state of Louisiana by not working with the school boards, the school systems that are educating the overwhelming majority of our kids. So unless we are better partners with you, we are not doing our jobs. We are going to be better for you. As soon as we get that stability, that predictability that we need, and I believe we're going to get it. But boy, is it hard. Man, does it take a long time. Does it require a lot of work? And I'm going to ask you to please, and you know I mean this because this is the third time I've already asked you, reach out to your legislators and tell them you expect them to fix the problem. And that you may not agree with everything that they come up with to fix it. But guess what? If you insist on only doing those things you agree with, you are insisting that we never fix the problem. Because you can't get the requisite votes to pass anything unless we compromise. That's where we are as a state. So we have great things going. We have tremendous momentum on the one hand, and we've got this fiscal cliff on the other. And as soon as we solve the cliff, watch the prosperity we have in Louisiana. It will be unlike we have seen in decades. I already feel it. It's starting to happen. All we got to do is do our work and get out of the way. And it's going to happen. You know what it's like to do your work. As challenged as you've been, you're making progress with our students. Since 2014, the ACT composite score has grown more than any southern state and ranks 10th among all states that test all of its students. You've done that despite the lack of support that you've gotten from the state of Louisiana. Since 2012, the number of students earning AP credit each year has increased by 137%. Thank you for supporting those students. And more students graduated in 2016 than ever before in the history of the state of Louisiana. You know, I told all of you, and I spent a lot of money to tell you, the last person I speak to every night is a teacher. And Donna frequently asks me, and she has since I got elected to the legislature, what did you do today for the school children of Louisiana? Any day I go to bed and I don't have a good answer for her, first of all, it's not pleasant. Secondly, I know that that day I didn't do as good as I should have. But I know that you in this room, you, because you are school board members and school superintendents, there is never a night, never, when you don't have something that you did to contribute. And so again, I thank you for that. And we are going to continue to work with you. I was just going over some of your legislative initiatives with Marquis. We're going to have a meeting and we're going to go through those. I can tell you I've already taken a look. There's nothing you're asking for that I don't support. I don't think you're asking for enough, to be honest with you, but I'm going to stand with you. We're going to get those things done. I do want to tell you about a few initiatives that I have. One is No Kid Hungry Louisiana. This is a campaign, and why is it important? We have over 270,000 children in Louisiana who suffer from hunger. 1 in 4 of the children in our state remain in poverty. And the No Kid Hungry initiative that is actually led by my children's cabinet and something that I and Donna are personally involved in seeks to make sure every child, regardless of income, has a nutritious breakfast and lunch. And the first step was to initiate the School Breakfast Challenge, which encourages schools to make breakfast part of the typical day by serving in the classroom or through the grab-and-go style carts. And Warren Drake is here. Don and I actually had an opportunity to go to one of his elementary schools and see that in action and talk to the students, and it makes a tremendous difference for them. And some of this may be counterintuitive to what you think and really what I thought as someone who went through a school that didn't do that. These kids grab that lunch going through, getting off the school bus or getting out of their car, off of a cart, and they go to their homeroom class. And while attendance is being taken, in those few minutes, they eat. You don't know which of those students might have come from having a free or reduced meal because they were all treated the same. They all got the same meal, and they all go in there and they sit down, and the teachers to a person told us it makes a difference as to whether that kid comes to school, whether that kid has a stomach ache or a headache, or whether they can pay attention. And it is so easy to do. So I'm imploring you all, if you haven't done it, please try it. In the year 2018, the fact that we have so many kids going hungry and suffering from nutrition problems ought to embarrass us all. So let's do what we can do. We can't fix it all, but there are some things we can do. And what we can do, we must do. So I'm encouraging you to look at these initiatives, and many of you have, and I want to thank you. Actually, since we launched the program, 40,000 more students have access to healthy, nutritious meals. The challenge was issued for the month of October. 306 schools participated and yielded an increase of 147,000 students for that month. But let's not just do it for a month. Let's make sure that we're doing better. And eventually, we need to find a way to do things in the summer as well. Because you know, hunger is not just an issue during the school year. So I would encourage you to look at that. I want to also talk to you about Jobs for America's graduates. We've made great strides in expanding the number of schools that have programs. Actually, we have now 123 programs for Jobs for America's graduates. And every kid in the JAG program is an at-risk student. And so when I give you these figures, they're impressive no matter what group of students you're talking about. But when you realize these are all at-risk students, hopefully you will see the value of the program. Graduation rate, 94%. Positive outcome rate, meaning employment, military service, or post-secondary education, 87%. In terms of full-time placement, between school and work or combination, 91%. All at-risk students. So I'm encouraging you to support this program. If you don't have one, please contact us. We would love to help you get a program. Now, I talked to you already about the budget. I'm not going to go back to that, this is where I'm supposed to talk about it in the speech. So I'm going to wrap it up here and wish you all a very successful convention. Thank you again for your leadership. Thank you for your service. And tell you that I intend for the state of Louisiana and for me to be a better partner with you so that together we can do a better job with our children and ensuring that they and this state has a very bright future. And I know that we're going to be successful. I am more optimistic and bullish on the state of Louisiana than you can imagine. but only because I am 100% confident we're going to solve these challenges that are before us presently. God bless you. Thank you.